Welcome back to the Daily Drum on WHUR and Sirius XM Channel 141. This is the Insight segment. I'm Harold Fisher. It is holiday office party time. Time to celebrate the season with your colleagues and your coworkers. It's also time to be careful, even as you celebrate. You know, the wrong move could get you reprimanded or even fired. Some of you may be on your way to an office party right now during this holiday season. Before you go in, you should listen to the tips from the experts. My guests are Crystal Bailey, director of the Etiquette Institute of Washington, and Nicole Colbert, attorney and CEO of Bow Enterprises, a woman-owned consulting firm. Ladies, thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Happy to be here.
Happy holidays.
Yes, indeed. So let's check in with a few fast facts. According to a 2022 report from Forbes magazine, these are the things that could get you fired for doing at a holiday office party. Number one, dancing with a coworker. Number two, flashing someone. 12% of the respondents say they've actually done this. Kissing a client, making inappropriate jokes, kissing a coworker, flirting with your boss, hooking up with a client at the party, dancing with a client, flirting with a coworker, and drug use. Okay, so Crystal, do you need a moment?
Clutched.
Yeah. I saw the
clutching, right?
Yeah, how about that? Whoa, that's what do you think about those?
Wow. So a lot of it is unbelievable, and to hear those numbers, I think, is hard to believe. But when you're mixing the end of very crazy years, and certainly 2024 being a crazy year, right? And alcohol, and the need and feel to kind of let yourself go for a little bit, then I can see where a lot of those things could very easily happen. It's a combination.
Yeah. I'm surprised, though, Nicole, about the flashing. No, I'm kidding. I'm surprised. I'm surprised about
12% flashers.
Yeah, 12%. Yeah, that's something. No, but the thing I guess I am surprised about is the dancing with a coworker, because this is a party, and I guess a lot of it probably depends on who you work for.
Well, I will put on not my legal hat, but I'll put on my boss hat. So I am in community with about 200 women bosses around the country, and I think where they probably omitted a word is unwanted contact, unwanted sexual contact, right? So, dancing imagery, it probably is different for everyone, but I think, we don't have to be so, hyper sensitive, but I think, suggestive dancing, unwanted touching, those things, anything that is not permissive and things that are suggestive are probably, where they were going with that. But, as we are, again, as a boss, as a person that has been on both sides there, I think that, if you walk into that, the environment never changes. You are in a professional environment, whether it is in the office or whether it is at an event. The decorum, the professionalism does not stop. The frivolity can increase, but the professionalism cannot stop. And I defer to Crystal on that too, but just addressing how we're addressing our peers, our colleagues should always be with that note in mind being a top priority.
Crystal, how important is it to read the room in a holiday office party setting? And let me drill down just a little bit before you answer that in talking about clarity. If you, let's say you work for a large white shoe law firm, but the boss, male or female, has a big personality and loves to shake a tail feather, okay? And so is it okay then at some point to follow the lead of the boss? Or do you just say, well, we're just going to let, the managing partner do the cutting up that he or she wants to do, but I'm still going to keep it, right here, like Will Smith in that movie, step to the left, step to the right, that kind of thing.
So a lot of times we do see the boss kind of kick off a party, right, and want everyone to enjoy themselves and have a great time. But it's so important for us to still show up with our professional standard, right? It's not a time to let our guards down, but maybe to heighten them even a little bit at a holiday party, recognizing that so many people are inebriated and so many people may have their guards down. So for me, no matter what the industry, right, I'm thinking about what I want to get out of this holiday party, right? And it's different than me celebrating with my friends and family, or, I'm thinking about going back home to Virginia to the Elks Lodge. When I go to the Elks Lodge, right, you can cut up, you can have a good time. That's a lot different than going to a work party. And so making sure that I have a good understanding of what my purpose is in attending this event. And despite the fact that everyone else may have their guards down and their oh goodness, I guess shirts up with the flashing, then, I'm still going to stick to my professional standards. So for me, that's an important thing to take to a holiday party. It's important to go, right? Mm-hmm. But I need to get something out of it. I need for there to be a purpose to it. And I don't want that to be the hiccup in my career.
So let me ask you both, because first of all, I know you both, and both of you are very stylish ladies. You all have, your own really personal flair. And again, holiday party, professional setting, but beyond sequins or a Santa Claus hat, how should you gauge, Nicole, how you dress? And I'm not just talking about, the ladies, but the men too.
Such a, a good question. I mean, quite frankly, I was on a few years ago prior to COVID, talking about the do's and don'ts of office parties. And, I talked about, politics, like keeping that out, anything that can engender, a heated debate. You want to keep it light and fluffy. And with all of the heightened like sexual allegations, in terms of fraternizing at work, I would just say, leaning away from things that are more revealing, more, that have a sexual connotation. I just feel like it's safe as you can, you can have a really, both Chris and I, we didn't plan this, but we both have, kind of, nice blazers on. And geez, am I dating myself by saying blazers? But, jackets, whatever. But that sounded very old. I am.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I could.
It's blazers, right? But
I don't know. Look, Nicole, let me say, I mean, you've got on a, a blue blazer with a, with the back, with what is that, a boat neck. I would certainly hope that you would do a little bit better at the Christmas.
Right. Well, now this is a great thing. Know your room. Now, this blazer is really, and if I can, is sitting on top of like a very casual sweater.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm layered up. I knew that I'm coming with Harold Fisher and he's going to put us on. So I wanted to dress up. Right. So layered up, being fun is one thing, but it is the thing that when we're talking about sexuality with women and with men, those are the things, that's where it gets gray, no pun intended. And so I'm like, we can be stylish and alluring and attractive, but when we start doing, the above, the thigh highs and the low cut things, it's your judgment call. It's your judgment call, but think of what audience that you're trying to attract, right? These are colleagues. You want them to be thinking about, hey, this person is relatable. I can converse. They're not stuffy, but what message do you want to send? And I say that with all the legal qualifications and everything on, but I really think that people should be aware of what those complicated, those complex things, those messages that we send with our attire. It's true. It's not what people want to hear, but it's kind of true.
What do you think, Crystal, about the attire for men and women? I mean, give me a specific example that you would just say, oh no, even, for example, if you saw one of the women colleagues where you would have to pull her up and say, hey, sis.
Yeah, I think it's easy to pick on the women, right? And what's short and what's sheer. But I will also say it's
no man cleavage.
No man, definitely no man. Cleavage.
No man cleavage for the guys.
Please spare us. But to also dress for the occasion. Maybe your everyday is business casual in the office. Maybe your everyday is even business attire, right? But if it's a holiday party and depending on the venue, the space where you are, it's really disappointing to host an event or have people at an event and they have not dressed according to the dress code or according to the venue. And it says a lot to your host. And so I'll also add, just making sure that we do dress for the occasion and not just, it's not that you can't, wear something that you had on at work, right? But we're going to heighten that look. We're going to elevate that look, throw on some baubles or, find a way to, or throw on a jacket if you don't normally wear a jacket during the workday to create an experience for everyone. So the dress code, it sets the tone, it sets the mood for people. And so making sure that we also hit that dress code will be a big thing for everyone.
Excellent. I'm going to take a break in just a second, but when we come back, one of the other things, we're going to move from what you're wearing to what you're talking about, some of the do's and don'ts of what you should and should not talk about, also when you should leave. And also, hey, what about this? What if you see something that you shouldn't? We're going to talk about that as well. So please, you like that, huh, Nicole? Stay with us. We're going to take a quick break, but don't forget, you can hear this at every edition of the Daily Drum Insight segment via podcast on WHUR.com. The Quiet Storm with Raheem Devon is next on WHUR. I'm Harold Fisher. This conversation continues on Sirius XM, Channel 141 and 96.3 HD2 in just a few seconds. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM Channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. We continue our discussion about the do's and don'ts of attending your holiday office party. My guests are Nicole Kober, attorney and CEO of Bow Enterprises, a women-owned consulting firm, and Crystal Bailey, director of the Etiquette Institute of Washington. Okay, so Nicole, let's talk a little bit about, again, kind of reading the room, but sometimes if you're with a large company, you rarely may have an opportunity to get a one-on-one with the executive director, the president and CEO, the the CFO, the COO, or any of those other upper echelon people, how much should you, if at all, should you talk to, those C-suite people about work-related things? And is there anything that is off limits?
Great question. So, what was top of mind for me when you asked the question is, it is a time to kind of become more personal in a professional way. And for me, leading with great questions of genuine interest. People always like to talk about their sense of pride with their families. That could be maybe their parents, if they are caretakers. We're getting in the sandwich age. How are things doing? You're having some compassion. I recently lost my father, and being able to, create I was never able to reach out to you, but I'm so sorry to hear about the loss of your father. That engenders empathy. Or, we're also having our children going to college and things like this. So these are all sources of pride and empathy. That's the engendering. So it's not the topics on, what's the agenda, what the company is looking for in 2025, but it is a way to be more personal and respectful. Things, again, to stay away from, as I alluded to, things that are polarizing. These are tried and true, just North Stars for us. Politics, you make no assumptions on people's political affiliations, and now is not the time to really dig deep into that. Also, end of the years, quite frankly, some people are being let go, bottom lines are being affected. That's not really the time to appreciate that. You want to create community through your conversation. How about that? Trying to create community and empathy. I think those light and fluffy, that is going to be such something that stays with the boss, that stays with the C-suite, that you showed another layer there. And then, I was kind of chuckling internally. You're like, when is it time to go? Well, we have heard from Hollywood that there are bright line rules, when you have worn out your welcome, when the later you stay, a lot of trouble starts the longer you stay. So I'm thinking you make an appearance, a good hour where you're fellowshipping. I mean, think about it like when you go to church. We wouldn't even be having these questions. Well, maybe. Oh, I don't know. But we would not.
If you're the trustee on the building fund, then you stay a little later.
So having that highest level of socialized, respectful social conversations is the bright line for me.
What's the danger, Crystal, of talking about the wrong thing, even work-related issues, some serious issues? Is there a way that you can at least bring it up or bring it to the attention of the person, that manager, without having a long drawn out conversation? Or do you just say it's completely off limits?
If it's someone whose ear you never get, then it may be an opportunity for you to say, I'd love to be able to, find some time in the new year to check in with you, to chat with you about such and such, right? Or not going into detail, just depending on what it is. But that might be a good opportunity for you to lay the groundwork, at least, for a topic that needs to come up. But, it's a week or less, I guess, before Christmas. So all of these emails, these phone calls, listen, we are trying to put those things to the side. And I think people very much feel that way at a holiday party, right? Maybe you can speak about an accolade or something that someone did this year, right? And that's always great, especially if you're a manager or in a senior position, letting these people know. And it's so great. I went with a good friend of mine to her holiday party, and her boss, just talked about how great and bright a shining star she was. It was really impressive to me. I had the opportunity to kind of, hype her up a little bit too. And I think that's the thing that we might want to do. We have to think about the fact that they're the plus ones that are there. And so talking shop, it's not the time for it, right? But if there's something that someone's accomplished or just giving someone their kudos during the holiday party, I think is perfectly fine. Another good thing then to talk about is, what are we looking forward to in the new year, whether it just be, travel plans for the holiday. I mean, you can ask that to anyone and it's an easy conversation topic, no matter what position that they're in, or things they're looking forward to in the new year. It's a nice open question to get someone talking. But at the end of the day, if we're thinking about someone that's in the C-suite, they have a limited amount of time that they're likely going to be there and many people that they're going to want to chat with. So making sure that we also don't monopolize someone's time, because that kind of sits on someone's memory as well, that either you brought up a topic that was a no-go for that particular space, or that you attempted to monopolize their time, which was very limited.
You mentioned plus ones, Crystal, so I'm going to start with you. How do you pick a plus one in for a professional setting? Particularly if your beloved is a little rough around the edges, but you want that person because you're married to them or that you love them or what have you. I mean, you're going to have to be marriage or relationship counselor here. How do you navigate that?
So if it's a significant other, I mean, a lot of times it's like, well, where is that person when they don't show up? So I think it's important, that they're able to join you, and that's fantastic. Briefing that person in advance, letting them know who's going to be there, who you plan to encounter. And then also, if it's a friend that you've invited, that sort of thing, making sure that it's someone that is going to not just be a bump on the log, that they're dragging you down as a weight the entire evening, right? But someone that's going to be able to make conversation on their own, that if you need to step away, they're going to be fine, that they are engaging. And so we can really be selective about the person that we bring to this party, or even strategic about the person that we bring. And giving them a little bit of a background beforehand can always be a good way to prep them.
So, Nicole, you're going to tell me how to act when I go to your office party? No, you didn't. I'm a grown man. I know how to carry my...
Well, I happen to be married to my business partner too.
Right.
So
yes.
We're that's a unique dynamic. Whole nother show, Harold. Whole nother.
Yeah,
show.
But see, I met him. I know.
You met my Harold.
yeah, right. That's my namesake, so I know that he knows how to act. So unless there's something about him I don't know.
No. Well, I'm very blessed in that regard. But I do see that could create a little discomfort. But then, whether we're at home or we're at work, we are trying to win together, right? Mm-hmm. And, I know friends that's just not their jam. The corporate thing is not their significant other's jam. And I wouldn't force anybody to be untruthful because or inauthentic is the word, because mm-hmm. It never works. They look disgusted. They feel disgusted. They're pouting. I wouldn't force that. There's 5,000 legitimate reasons for someone to not attend, hey, watching the kids, or hey, somebody's sick. I mean, so I say authenticity is key over everything. And even not that, some people are just deeply introverted. Quite frankly, I'm deeply introverted in a room of strangers. I'm not very, proactive. I like more intimate one-on-one. I have to practice those things, So I feel empathy for those who are not the social butterflies and have compassion for them. I don't think that takes away. You're not given a demerit as a team member that comes, by yourself.
Mm-hmm. So, Crystal, let's talk a little bit about eating and drinking. Let us first start with eating, because sometimes, almost every time there is one of these holiday office parties, if there is food, unless it's just such a really, really highbrow event, it's always going to be buffet style. And you're the etiquette expert. How do you do that without getting the meatballs and gravy on your blouse or your suit, or just the whole, how do you walk away clean like you walked in?
Eat beforehand.
Really?
Well, that's one tip that I always give for networking events. So if it's something that's going to be
Oh.
kind of a standing, working the room type of event versus a sit down dinner, I would eat a little something beforehand, just so that I'm not famished. I'm not, hovering up over the buffet and then so focused on getting something to eat time I get to that event, especially if you're not going to stay there that long, right? You don't want to put so much focus on the food. So that would be my piece of advice. Eat beforehand. Know you can go through the drive-through after, but not putting a lot of focus on that food. Now, I will say, if you plan on drinking, make sure you
Yeah.
have something on your stomach, because it's so easy to say, oh, I'm taking Crystal's advice. Don't want to eat at this event, but then I've had several drinks, and so we all know how someone can get when they haven't balanced things out. So making sure that we're balancing that out, alternating with water, or it's a professional event. It's perfectly fine to forego, not feeling as if you have to, even if that's the culture of your office, right? Having a beverage in your hand that's something else. People just want to see that you are integrated in the event, that you're comfortable, that the host was able to give you something. So if you have a cup of water in your hand, they're just going to be happy to see. It's usually that person that's like, oh, you don't want anything? And we say, no, I'm fine. Just take what do you have any water? Do you have a soft drink? And go with that if that's your plan, not feeling like you have to drink at these events either.
Yeah. So your advice is, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about you,
That's Elks
Nicole?
Lodge.
Yeah, we need to talk about this Elks Lodge thing. That sounds like a good time.
Can I be your plus one, Crystal?
Yeah, tell you what,
Tomorrow night, come on.
the three of us should go. How about that? You can bring Harold.
I love it.
But
Well, I don't, I defer to Crystal on that. I by no means consider myself an etiquette queen, but I do know my limits on alcohol. Like I have gone through my 20s, my 30s, my 40s. I am a seasoned a connoisseur of myself. Like I know my own. I know the type of alcohol. I know the quantity. I do not do brown. I do bubbles. I do 2, and I'm through. Hey, there is a tape that just came from the Lord. But that, like, I'm 2 and I'm through. Like, I am so happy. With age comes and experience comes wisdom, is that I know that I can be social. It takes a little of the, like I said, I am not a social butterfly in strangers, but I do think, one drink, you feel a little less inhibited, but not so much that you are out of sorts with the nature of your conversations. But everybody should know their limits. On this audience in particular, we should absolutely not make the rookie mistakes that we did in our youth, and be elegant from beginning to end.
Here we go, Crystal. Sometimes at these events, there are gift exchanges, and there may be a $25 limit, or sometimes maybe as much as, I don't know, $40, whatever. What's a no-no for a gift, whether you know the person or not? How do you pick the Secret Santa gift?
Yes. So there are some things we definitely want to stay away from. And I would say things that are overly personal, clothing, perfumes, colognes, that sort of thing. I mean, it's one thing if it's, hand soaps for the bathroom, that's fine. But if we're picking, I mean, that's something that a significant other does, picks out a cologne or a perfume for someone, or picks out articles of clothing for someone. So staying away from those, I think, will be important. And also, I'm not a big gift card fan,
Yeah.
So if it is, White Elephant or however they're doing the gift exchange, sure, it's easy to grab a Starbucks gift card, but it says a lot when, you put a little extra thought into it. And, even if you combine that maybe with a mug or something like that, it still gives people something tangible that they can take away.
Mm-hmm. So I've often seen this on social media, and a lot of comedians are talking about this. But Nicole, in a lot of cases, this is a real thing. How do you handle when you bring your significant other, someone who is turned your work wife or work husband? Because I'm sure you've heard the term, and even if everything is above board, we know that when you spend in the office a minimum of 8, depending on the job, you may spend 10 hours a day, 3 to 5 days a week with, Steve in the cubicle, 2 doors or 2 cubicles down.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve knows how you like your coffee. He knows what you want. How do you deal with those kinds of things when Steve comes up and says, "Oh, hey, Harold, nice to meet you. Yeah, Nicole's my work wife." Do you have to have a conversation with Steve before the party?
Well, okay, so I am putting myself in somebody else's shoes because,
Yes.
as I said, my husband is my work husband, right? So,
well, yeah, that's right. So,
exactly. What I would say if I were in that position and have the tremendous amount of respect, 360 degrees, my work husband's gonna know my husband. They are going to be friends too, right? Because if you're talking, and again, no funny business, but I'll say, for example, I have 2 companies. One is with my husband, and one is with a women's organization. And my work wife and my business, I'm always talking about her. Tiki. Her name is Tiki. Mm-hmm. And Harold, they know each other. There is a lot of respect, mutual respect. And because I believe, I am all consumed by my work. And so that amount of my life should be integrated. You cannot bifurcate. I think it's difficult. That's me personally. And so integrating, especially when somebody is your support system at work, there should be a lot of, hey, this is, so-and-so really helped me out with the boss today. And, hey, let's go to lunch, because these are 2 big parts of your life that you love and support and are positive. There's no threat there. And I think that's the last part, is when you are clandestine, then that's a whole nother show, right? Mm-hmm. But if you are doing things for the love, you're committed to your career, you're doing your God job, and your significant other wants to see you in that light and supportive, there is this synergy that makes you not have to cut off and hide.
Your thoughts on the work husband, work wife situation, Crystal, at the party?
At the party, okay.
At the party.
So making sure that, and I think this is not something that you're thinking about that day, but when you forge relationships, whether it be, work husband, wife, sometimes we have work mom, we have the whole situation,
right? Yeah,
children, right? It's a whole family. Then I'm definitely with Nick in thinking about sharing that, sharing and speaking about this. This should not be, people that you're bringing up the day of the event, right? And, I would just like to introduce you for the first time, sort of thing. This is someone that spoken about, and all of these things are above board. So I think the above board part is important. And I think the way that we introduce people is so important. So when you have that significant other there, making sure that they are properly introduced each and every time as you're going around a room. It can be exhausting and draining to have to continue to introduce someone. However, it's so important that you introduce them as with that level of importance and gravitas that they have in your life.
So I mentioned this earlier, and in the Forbes report, this was also mentioned. If you're at a large or busy office party with colleagues and you go into a room and you see something wholly inappropriate going on, something that may be really intimate, and the people who are involved see that they have been seen. Okay. Crystal, how do you handle that? I mean, do you say oops and shut the door and forget that you saw it? I mean, some things I'm sure you can't unsee. But how do you handle that? Because even if it happened at the party, but you're going to see Jim and Sally on Monday, and how do you deal with that?
I would hope for that thing, the little light, and like in Men in Black, that someone could just hit me with that, right?
Yeah, hold still, flash.
We erase that entire memory. But bringing up this topic is slightly triggering for me, having had that professional experience of a few days after the holiday party, getting called in to be interviewed about something that happened at a holiday party. And
did you see it, or did they?
I did not. I actually had left the event early to go see a show, and I also had just started that job, so I didn't know the people, right? So I was there, giving me names. I'm like, I can't even put a name to a face at this point. But just when we talk about how long you stay at something, right? If you're staying and you're in that second shift of people, right, or becomes a smaller group, you just want to be thoughtful about who's there, the dynamic that's there, and if you want to be involved in something like that. And so very often that can give us a good idea of when to head out, right? When people have had too much to drink, when it's gotten too late. And I'm then just going to add on to that, also thinking about how we get to and from this holiday party too, and just making sure that we're taking precautions and Ubering, taking a taxi, because there's just so many, legal issues to think about, but I'll leave that to the Esquire.
Yeah. And I was, and honestly, Nicole, I think Crystal saw it, but it was the Men in Black flash. She did see it. She doesn't remember.
I love that. I wish that were illegal, like we could codify it, but legally, you are a witness. If something, so there are, particularly, quite frankly, after the Matt Lauer, that was so highly publicized several years ago. And so there are a lot of legal, and when I say legal, in terms of your policies and procedures, read them, because a lot of people didn't know. Oh, wow. I didn't know I couldn't have a relationship with someone that's a superior, or I needed to disclose it, or there is they are highly detailed now, post those pretty direct examples. And so read your policies and procedure. And but if you are a witness, just know, to Crystal's point, is that, you don't want to lie about anything. But HR, if HR is involved, you just tell tell the truth. You don't want to risk your job and career for the inappropriate behavior of others. So, read your manuals. If you are one of the fraternizing partners, make sure you know that, hey, I'm risking it all for love. It better not be a hookup. Risk it all for love, because you can lose your career, and I don't think that would be a happy couple to start off broke and fired. so
Hey.
those are, I'm being tongue in cheek, but I'm like, it is very serious implications, especially two people in C-suite or management level. It's a lot to put on the line out of ignorance if you don't know things. So arm yourself with knowledge and be truthful and respect the work culture, the legal work culture.
Yeah, that's and that is a very, very real thing. If you, particularly, let's say you work for a larger organization, and yeah, you may open up a closet door or something, and again, see something that's inappropriate, and hopefully you're the only one, and you're of a mind to just say, hey, Merry Christmas, or Happy New Year, and just
Well, it's really not your
not your
duty
business.
or your problem
Yeah,
to go report. You don't.
exactly.
If that were your question, I'm like, that is not. You don't have a fiduciary responsibility unless you are literally the boss. And
Yeah.
in which case, well, we have a different thing. But if these are just colleagues, I don't think it is something that you have to involve yourself in other people's careers and decisions, unless, to Crystal's point, that you're asked.
Yeah. Crystal, I'll let you have a final word on holiday office party etiquette. Just a final thought.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is going. It's so easy for us to, say that we're uncomfortable in those environments, and I know that I am. But it may be that the only opportunity, for you to have your face seen for the C-suite, or to get the ear of someone, or to, allow yourself to be seen in a different, more social light, but still with that professional touch. And so, even if it's just for a short amount of time, not just saying, oh, I don't do after hours things, they're not paying me for this, I'm not going, because there is so much more to it than what it may seem.
Gosh, I think that is a great way to end this conversation. Crystal Bailey, Nicole Colbert, thank you so much for sharing your insight on this important topic. And look, happy holidays to both of you.
Happy holidays, Harold.
Happy holidays. Happy partying.
Yes, indeed. That is the Daily Drum for this Friday, December 20th. For News Director Renee Nash, reporters Millette Green and Vermonte Bryant, I'm Harold Fisher. Good night and have a wonderful weekend.